developing today, outrage within the royal family, given after these peace talks with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, there was a promise. And there was a resolute promise not to leak any information and also to stop slagging off the royal family, which, by the way, includes ridiculous PR stunts designed to take away from the work of the true monarchy. And what's happened over the last few days? The total opposite. So the royal family had planned this release of a brand new portrait of Camilla, the Queen, for many weeks. And they posted last night, ahead of Her Majesty's 78th birthday tomorrow, a new picture of the Queen has been released by Buckingham Palace. This image was taken this month in the garden at Raymill, Her Majesty's private home in Wiltshire, by Chris Jackson. And of course, it was a beautiful picture. Slight issue is that Harry, at the exact moment that that picture was released, decided to release his own images of what I believe is a sick stunt, because this is the third time he's done it, of walking through the minefields in Angola, pretending to do a Princess Diana, looking in the same way as her, lined up in the same way as her, and he knew exactly what that was going to do, and he succeeded. It pushed Camilla off the front pages, and there is fury amongst the palaces as a result. There's the Daily Telegraph. That space was reserved for an image of the Queen. The Daily Mirror probably wouldn't have put Camilla on the front page, but they put Harry on the front page. But the Mail certainly would have. And instead, what's happened? Half the front page to Prince Harry. So what this shows you is that nothing is changing. They went into these peace talks. They made all of these promises, but nothing is changing. And it gets worse because Meghan decided to use Camilla's birthday to plug her crappy wine. I'm not even joking. Look at this Instagram message. All about as ever, of course, or was never, as Lady Colin Campbell calls it. And she said, sending birthday love both near and far to my ladies. We know what she means. Her lady being Queen Camilla. Princess Carmichael posted on this. This cannot possibly be a birthday message for Queen Camilla, but Meghan Markle posted this around 4 p.m. Wednesday, Pacific time, which would make it midnight Thursday in London, which is Camilla's birthday. So a few days ago, Harry and Meghan's team meets with the King's comms people, and now Markle is sending vague birthday messages to the Queen. How utterly and blatantly manipulative and disingenuous, and using her cheap as ever swill to do it. She just can't stop using that tenuous royal connection, can she? Had she posted a legitimate birthday message without self-promotion, it wouldn't be so phony and unbelievable, but here we are. And from according to Taz, there are 365 days in a year. You can't tell me that Harry retracing his mother's steps again the day before Queen Camilla's birthday wasn't intentional. The king needs to wake up and start seeing his son for who he is. No more chances. Harry is still a vengeful asshat. And that was a new one to me. Arsehat, but I like it. Is that what it is, arsehat? I don't know. Okay, let me bring in my superstar panel, Mike Fairclough and Alex Phillips. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favor. Click the subscribe button now. Turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos. So look, Alex, I think Charles, I mean, I don't like criticizing Charles, okay? He's our king, he's our monarch, and I've criticized him a lot over the last week. But I just am so angry with him for reopening the circus, right? Because these peace talks were meant to be separate. They were leaked by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. What ensues is days of leaks about exactly what was said. The circus returns. Then we have Harry in Angola deliberately pushing Camilla off the front pages. Then we have Meghan using Camilla's birthday to try and plug her wine. And I'm just like, just don't bother. Just don't bother, because this is what happens every single time you try and bring them back into the fold.
Right. I mean, look, we don't know what the nature of those talks were unless we were sitting there and heard what the conversation was. It could have been about foretelling what might have to be done at his funeral, because that is his son. That is his son, and he's still the prince, however much we might dislike him and absolutely detest his wife. But the other thing is, look, the Harry and Meghan PR team are cognizant of one thing. They don't seem to be able to come up with any original ideas, but cynically, they deliberately copy what Diana did and deliberately attach these things to other dates in the calendar that are significant for the royal family because they know it maximizes the coverage. If Meghan just happened to send this. Why is she unlocking a box, for crying out loud? What's wrong with the normal like sixing and the carry handle? But you know, if she brought this out on any other day that wasn't around Camilla's birthday, or if Prince Harry hadn't walked through that minefield and had a photo identical to his mum on the same day, on any other day of the year, it wouldn't get as much attention. So the team behind them know what they're doing without a doubt. And the problem is we lap it up, don't we? We all sort of give them the extra coverage by not just the sort of, you know, vaguely supportive left-wing press going, aren't they wonderful? Look at what they're up to. And that's diminishing. But all the right-wing press who hate them, giving them publicity anyway, saying, oh, look, they've done it at the same time as the royal family again. So, you know, it's cynical and strategic, and they know exactly what game they're playing at. But at the end of the day, that is still the king's son. You know, family's family, and, you know, parental relationships are parental relationships. And he is a poorly man. We don't know how much longer we get of him. Of course, it was Harry who sort of leaked to the press that it might not be as long as we expected. But, you know, they've got a multi-million pound, if not multi-billion pound PR team behind them over in America. These decisions are, of course, taken very specifically and very purposefully. And like we're talking about the Obamas, this is kind of how the American multi-billion pound PR industry works. It doesn't care about truth. It doesn't care about reality. It doesn't care about people's emotions or family relations or honesty. All they look at is how can they plow more and more money into the brand and keep the brand relevant.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like the royal family, though, have almost opened the door to allow them to do that more. I mean, by the way, Alex, you mentioned that interview. It is worth just reminding everyone, this took place like less than 3 months ago. Watch.
Fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. You know, he won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile.
And I mean, Mike Fairclough, that interview actually was even more batshit than that, because Harry also suggested publicly to the world that the king had potentially been involved in some type of plot to want him dead. So, I mean, I find it insane that the door has been opened to him so quickly anyway. But what do you make of this whole Diana thing, like the walking through the landmine, trying to look like her? Because for me now, I'm like, you did this twice already, Harry. You did it in 2010. You did it in 2019. The landmine issue in Angola, which Princess Diana absolutely raised the attention of for the first time in 1997, when this was a huge issue, right? A massive, massive issue, is no longer the issue that it once was, because obviously 3 decades have passed and a huge amount has been done. So to me, this doesn't feel like Harry cares about the issue. It feels like he cares about getting himself some good publicity.
Yeah, so if I personally, I feel if the royal family wanted to, if King Charles wanted to shut this down, it would be shut down instantly. I don't believe that any of this stuff is by accident. It's almost a soap opera. So in order to keep, and just to be clear, it's like, you know, I'm proud to be British. I love kings and castles. I love my heritage. I do feel a bit sold out by the current monarchy, going back to things like, you know, the Great Reset, and I think if like that, if we could all be serfs, I think they would be more than happy. But basically, I feel like this is allowed to happen. You know, you could shut that down easily with the intelligence agencies or a word from powerful people, and that would be the end of it. But I think it's in order to kind of keep it juicy. But to be honest with you, I like, you know, for me, it's like particularly this sort of image here. I just can't wait for South Park to get hold of it. I remember when they did the worldwide privacy tour, and it was just like fantastic, because actually that's the whole point. It's like, you know, this is what we need more of, is that the sort of less of this blind adoration and so on. I think there should be respect for our traditions, but I think these guys need to also know where they stand in relation to us as well, because it feels a little bit like we're moving back to that era where, the king sort of rules. And I think there's been a lot of where there's been, well, certainly with climate change and all the rest of it, there's been a bit of a encroaching on that stuff with King Charles. But yeah, I think if they wanted to shut this down, they could. It wouldn't be an issue. And again, it just keeps it entertaining. It keeps the brand rolling. And as I say, as soon as the South Park episode comes out, I'll
bring
be
it
watching
on. I cannot wait for the South Park episode, that's for sure. Alex, I just want to play you how the Sun covered this, because they sort of are following Harry's narrative on this. But just while you're watching this, can you just have a think about, because I'm like, how can Harry, given he's so woke, right, and so left, and they sign up to all of this, like, how does this not escape what the left and the woke mob describe as the whole white savior thing when it comes to Africa? It's not something I sign up to at all, but obviously his mob do. So I'll come to that in just one moment. But here's how his visit has been portrayed in the mainstream media.
Harry walked in his mother's footsteps today as he visited a landmine field in Angola, Africa. Now, Princess Diana, his mother, famously attracted worldwide attention when she walked through a live landmine field in Angola back in 1997. It's been a cause that Harry has always looked at and wanted to echo his mother in a bid to make Angola landmine free. And he returned today for a 2 or 3 day visit where he's bringing attention to this grave problem.
Does having the halo, having the job demining, does it help with the family?
Atenção.
Okay, quiet.
Atenção, fire.
Even the photographs are echoes of the famous photographs taken of Diana back in 1997, when she was the first person to really bring attention to this cause. Harry, since 2013, has been patron of the Halo Trust, and it is a matter very close to his heart. He didn't just walk through this landmine field, he also spoke to some children where he said children should never have to live in fear of playing outside or walking to school. He called for a landmine-free country. Now, Halo, with Harry's support, have cleared many, many landmines in Angola and other places around the world. However, still in the last 5 years, 80 people have died in Angola. There are still millions of landmines in Angola. There's 67 square kilometres of landmines in this African country. And Harry, this is a personal crusade for him. It's something that he's spoken about. It's something that's close to his heart, and it's very important to him to follow, quite literally, in his mother's footsteps. Now, this is the first time that we've seen Prince Harry since he sent his aides across the Atlantic to London to meet the King's aides to open up a form of communication. And I'm sure in Buckingham Palace, they're looking at this trip that he's made to Angola, and I think maybe there is a lot of sympathy, and I don't think they can find too much trouble in what Harry's been doing in Angola this week.
Alex, do you agree?
Do you know what I was thinking just watching that? Actually, I felt quite emotional about it, because I was like, I don't care about Meghan's rosé. I don't care about Harry's griping and moaning and the timing of those press releases. But one thing I do care about are those poor wee kids in Africa, kids who are being blown up, kids who are now amputees and paraplegics for the rest of their lives, kids who are orphaned because their parents are dead. And to find out there are still millions of these things undetonated in that country, despite the fact that it has been, 30 years since it was first raised to international attention. I'd rather the press were talking about that. I'd rather the press were saying, how can we come up with solutions to make sure that that is dealt with, rather than whether or not it was timed at a specific time of the year so Harry could get attention for himself. I mean, maybe he is doing a good thing, because now I didn't know quite how desperate the situation is. It's something that's definitely pulled on my heartstrings as someone who used to live in West Africa and lived in East Africa. And it just, honestly, that just shattered my heart seeing that and learning about the statistics of that. So it's something I'm now going to keep an eye on. And I wish ridiculous mainstream media, who seem to just write the headlines that they want to write and don't write the headlines that matter to ordinary people with a soul and with a consciousness, actually talked about that instead.
Well, I think it also shows the missed opportunity, though, too, right, that Harry and Meghan had. Because if they weren't so desperate trying to make all this money, all the time with their silly little stunts. I mean, this was the whole point of what they had an opportunity to do as members of the royal family. The royal family actually wanted to relocate them for 6 months of the year to Africa so they could be completely focused on these types of causes. And I think Harry has huge regrets, actually, with the fact that instead they went to Hollywood and just tried to pimp out their lives, and it hasn't worked out. But look, huge developments in the Daily Mail today in regards to Harry's positioning on these peace talks. And this has been written by the newspaper's editor-at-large, Charlotte Griffiths, who broke the story in the first place, having been leaked the information from Team Harry. So it's pretty significant stuff. The headline is, Harry wants to reconcile with royals, but knows he must do it without Meghan. As he walks through Diana Minefield, friends say he's sick of being the bitter prince and hint why his wife isn't with him. And so Charlotte Griffiths reports, friends say Harry is desperate to distance himself from the image of the bitter prince that has defined him since Megxit, and is willing to do whatever it takes to move on, even if it means briefly leaving Meghan behind for important publicity tours. Indeed, he travelled to Africa, which he has previously described as his home away from home without Meghan, whom it has been said hoped that she might be thought of as a new Diana when she married Harry in 2018. This event has been months in the planning, and it was Harry himself who ruled out Meghan's attendance on the landmine walk from the start. Harry didn't want Meghan there, according to sources in Angola. This decision was motivated partly by concerns over her safety, but also by a belief that the Halo charity is his thing, and the source adds he wants to keep it that way. After all, Meghan could hardly resist the opportunity to be snapped by photographers walking literally in Diana's footsteps in a flak jacket and face shield, her prince by her side. Apart from anything else, the images would no doubt have been a welcome publicity boost for her new business venture as ever. Until now, Harry has remained doggedly loyal to his wife, but his old friends tell me they believe he has finally realised what the world has known for years, that if he wants to reconcile with the royal family, he must be willing to stand alone. After all, several events Meghan have been involved in ended up being PR disasters, including in Africa. Harry may, of course, blame the press for the so-called media circus that surrounds Meghan, which is why he banned the British media from attending his Halo walk. But some might reasonably suggest that her absence is a tacit admission that she might be the problem. I'm told the prince now wants to own this project, or at least the ones he has left. Insiders say that after the torrid Bali scandal, he is determined to ensure that such a situation never arises again. Not with Invictus, not with his other UK charity Wellchild, and certainly not with Halo, which will forever be associated with his beloved mother. So Mike Fairclough, look, it's an interesting strategy, isn't it? But do you really think it will work now? Because I feel like the British public are not just going to immediately forgive Harry because Meghan isn't by his side. I mean, if you think about the past few years, we look at the late Queen and Prince Philip being put through absolute hell in their final months on Earth because of false claims of racism, for example. We look at William and all of the claims that Harry has made about him in his book. I don't know. I just feel it's a bit like we're not so stupid that just because Meghan wasn't there that all of a sudden we're going to remember the Harry that maybe we thought we used to love, because I think, haven't we seen the real bloke over the past couple of years?
So it's interesting. So it's that just as a kind of a receiver, a kind of consumer of information there, I had the same sort of visceral reaction that Alex did when I was that really well put together Sun article, and it's like, oh right, actually there's something, this is like major stuff. I mean, I did then start thinking, right, where did they get the landmines from? Was it from us? The bigger thoughts about the military industrial complex, the fact that this goes on today, you know, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, etc. The whole thing's just awful. It's like death cult that's involved, but you can't escape from the fact that there are little kids who are being and killed and destroyed. And you know, for me, when I was watching that piece, it was, so I'll go back to when they got married. So I said to my wife when they were just before they got married, I said, right, I'm not going to watch the wedding. I refuse to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm a non-conformist and all the rest of it. And I ended up watching the entire thing from the beginning, middle to end, and feeling really like emotional about it and really like proud to be British by the end. And then Meghan started doing things which felt really uncouth and very un-British. and I kind of sort of fell out of love with that like 5-minute love affair with the two of them when they first got married. So I think it's all about marketing, really. I mean, again, going back to what Alex has said, this is all like, whether people think it's they're together or not together, or they're going to be there'll be some friction, or this is all a big soap opera really. But what if there's anything that good is going to come out of it? Maybe, as Alex said again, it will refocus people on an important issue, one that actually matters and that people can get behind. So that's my response.
Very good response, I think. But first, these days we're living through economic whiplash, soaring prices, vanishing savings, and headlines that seem designed to confuse more than inform. Now, we're told this is all normal, that history's been rewritten for our own good, and that embracing these changes is the only path forward. But every outlet tells a different version of reality, and the so-called fact checkers are just enforcing the approved narrative. But luckily, there's a solution. It's ground news. Hands down, the easiest way to stay informed, because it cuts through all the spin, all the bias, so you can actually see what's going on and then make up your own mind. So I have it on my phone, as an app, and in my bookmarks online, because it's become so essential to my daily life. See for yourself, by the way, at ground.news/outspoken. But I want to show you this incredible website and app in action before I tell you about today's deal. So let's use the very controversial story of the UK pop star, washed up pop star that is, using her BBC podcast with fellow presenter and close friend Mikita Oliver, equally awful, claiming she doesn't know how many abortions she's had before settling on 4 or 5. So what Ground News allows you to do is clearly in one place over 60 sources, 67 sources in fact, covering the story. And then it instantly shows how the story is being covered by the media, broken down by whether the organizations lean to the left or the right. This is what's called the bias distribution chart. Then you scroll down and can literally see every headline about the story immediately, along with the political bias and ownership of the publication. So most of the coverage here is from outlets on the right, because the left decided to shy away from covering such casually offensive comments. When looking at the headlines individually, the left-wing outlets that did cover the story tried to do so with sympathy. We Got This Covered praised her for challenging taboos. The Daily Mirror described it as a heartfelt admission. And Metro News went all out, arguing you can't judge Lily Allen's abortion confession and be pro-choice. But the coverage on the right-leaning outlets, far more strident. Fox News honed on the fact she was laughing during the confession. The Western Journal dismissed her boast as revolting. And The Spectator declared we should be outraged by Lily Allen's 4 or 5 abortions. Now, my favourite feature of Ground News is their blind spot feed, because what this does is every single day surface upwards of 20 stories that receive the majority of coverage from one side of the political spectrum. If you love the news, like I do, this blind spot feed is the best way to get a balanced perspective on what's really happening in the world. So go to ground.news/outspoken or scan the QR code on the screen to subscribe today. And check this out, you will get 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use for unlimited access. That's ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show. Breaking right now, Diane Abbott has just been suspended by Labour again after repeating the belief that anti-Semitism is less serious than racism endured by black people. I mean, Alex Phillips, look, I thought it was insane that Starmer ever let this woman back into the Labour Party. I mean, she is racist. She is completely anti-Semitic, right? But he gave in to the left. Now she's been suspended again. I mean, surely what she's going to do is run off and join her former shag buddy, Jeremy Corbyn, and join Hope UK, as it's going to be called, or as I call it, Hope Less UK. But I mean, what do you make of this? I just think she's a nasty piece of work, isn't she? But, he created this problem because he didn't stand by the previous suspension.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she repeated the allegations just so she can be booted out, just so she can then publicly go to that party with all the sort of headlines that makes it a big thing. I mean, she's another political has-been, really. And I just hate this game of which racism is worse than the other, which is what is going on in the hierarchy of victimhood. You know, is it that you're Muslim? Is it that you're black? Is it that you're a woman? Is it that you're disabled or gay or trans? Or I mean, just it's so tedious.
It is tedious. It is tedious, but the problem is, right, the left are so on every other form of discrimination. If you actually listen to what, because this is what she said, Alex, she said, clearly there must, this is her new comments, by the way, to Radio 4, clearly there must be a difference between racism, which is about colour, and other types of racism, because you can see a traveller or a Jewish person walking down the street, you don't know what they are. But I think the reality is, Alex, she just doesn't believe anti-Semitism exists at all. We know about the anti-Semitism problem within Labour. We know about the anti-Semitism problem when she was the shadow Home Secretary under a Corbyn Labour Party. They just don't really buy into it at all.
No, I know. I mean, look, a lot of people on the left and in the comfortable middle classes seem to have these really perverse views on our Jewish population. And it is a massive red flag for our society. When Jewish people start leaving your country, you know you've got a pretty bad form of cancer going on. But she's also obsessed, as she always has been, with the colour of her own skin. I just want to give her a piece of information. Guess what? It's all imagined that the rest of the country is obsessed with the fact you're black. We're not. I don't care. We don't really care. We didn't care that Rishi Sunak was a Hindu Indian of Punjabi descent, born in East Africa. We don't care that Kemi Badenoch's black. We don't care that you're black. The only person who cares so much about being black, it seems, is you, Diane. And this is the thing, you know, people like her make a bit of a sort of, you know, sort of keep her reputation alive by playing this card, because we know that she can't do radio interviews. We know she can't add up. We know she'd make a pretty rubbish Minister of State. And so it's kind of the only card she's got to play anymore. And a lot of people who play this card, it's usually, I mean, I think of that.
But she's the mother of the house. It's so embarrassing.
I know, but you know, like I said, how did she get that position? A, she's been a politician for a long time, but also because it's a historic moment.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people play this card having enjoyed the system for so long. I think of that Nadia Hussein, the hijab wearing baker, who was from the BBC. Obviously, look, she might be a very personable and nice young woman who can cook a cake. But, you know, I think she was given all those opportunities and all those series for the, you know, tick box DEI diversity. Doesn't this make us look progressive as a corporation? When the BBC said you ain't getting the viewing figures, we're going to cancel it. All of a sudden it's like, this is racism, despite the fact that she probably got the opportunity in the first place because of her particular ethnicity.
Totally.
And so I think about Diane Abbott in this same view as the minute their star begins to fade, it's like, oh, better talk about the fact I'm black again. Yeah. It's like, Diane, no one cares but you, love. We're not really a racist country. We're pretty colourblind as a nation. And the people who are obsessed with race are the people who want to maximise their own opportunities because of it.
Couldn't agree more. Mike Fairclough, this is a good point to talk about your brilliant best-selling book, Cancel This, because, of course, as Britain's most outspoken head teacher, you know all about cancellation. But this is interesting, isn't it? Because, like, I, in some ways, would say, okay, don't cancel Diane Abbott for what she actually believes, apart from the fact that, can you imagine if this had been a white male Conservative or Reform UK MP saying that they didn't believe Jamaican people suffered from racism? That'd be gone. It would be leading the mainstream media. We just know that.
Yeah. So first of all, I've noticed, well, we've all noticed, haven't we, that anti-Semitism has become a socially acceptable form of racism.
Totally.
And it's literally just happened in the last few months. Prior to that, we've had like 70 years of it being the most taboo thing you can do. You can, like, even if you were to mention something about Israel kind of innocently, you could be branded anti-Semitic. So, and just suddenly it's almost become fashionable. And it's interesting because my kids, they've got one of their teachers as their classics teacher. She's a wonderful older lady who's born in Israel. She's Jewish. She's actually anti-establishment. She doesn't agree with the Israeli regime. She was a freedom fighter during the COVID era. She's got friends who are Palestinian. She's got friends who are Jewish and all the rest of it. And she's told me that she's had incredible amounts of anti-Semitism directed at her since all of the Hamas attacks last year. So, you know, it's extraordinary with her, and with also also with her community saying, you know, hide your Star of David and that kind of thing. And it's become really, it's actually chilling, because we've always had this, like for decades, we've had this self-reflection on, like, how did the horrors of 1930s Germany happen? How did the rise of the Nazis happen when there were good people who just sat around and didn't say anything and just kept their mouths shut? Now we know, because I've had very good friends say to me, "Oh yeah, you know, I kind of really don't agree with all this kind of Hamas flag waving stuff through London, and you know, but just can't really say anything at the moment because of what's going on." And that's exactly what the problem is. It's self-censorship for fear of reprisals from others, and that's what we've got to crush. Going back to the race thing, as I said
Yes.
earlier, I'm married to a dark-skinned Punjabi Indian woman, and if you had spent any time with the Sikhs, they are the least victim-y group of people I can possibly imagine, and they completely rip the pee out of every single other nation as well, just like we do, just kind of almost like racist horseplay. And I think we just got to get back to this vibe where we just kind of get a bit more chilled about the whole thing. But certainly anti-Semitism should be banished.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Mike Fairclough, a brilliant Outspoken debut. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, Cancel This, a bestseller on Amazon, is available right now. And it is such a brilliant book. Thank you so much for being here today, Mike. Of course, we're going to reveal Greatest Britain Union Jackass in just one moment. Diane Abbott is one of those nominees. But first, to your comments today. Marion writes, "The more I watch and listen to Stammer, the more I'm convinced he's baiting the people to true unrest. He's a psychopath." Yes, Marion, he is. He really is. I agree with you. Angela also says, "I'd be interested to know the actual percentage of 16 and 17-year-olds that are working in this country, paying taxes and deserve the right to vote, to say how their money is spent." And then there's this divide over, do we go for Nigel, do we not? Is reform the answer, is it not? Well, here's both sides of the angle from Outspoken viewers. Susan says, "If we don't get behind Nigel and stop talking about Nigel, we're going to lose our country. Please back Nigel. We need our country back." But Avtomat4774 says, "A generic-led Tory party with Rupert Lowe as Home Secretary is the only chance. Reform is a bad joke." And today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass, a reminder of your UJ nominees. Rishi Sunak, nominated by Bunny Bluffed for his government, bringing Afghans to our homeland, using our money and keeping us in the dark. Grant Shapps, nominated by Lynn's FA911 for trumping the Wallace D notice with a super injunction. And Diane Abbott, the aforementioned Diane Abbott, nominated by Darren Donaldson for standing by her comments that got her suspended from the Labour Party in the first place. With the party taking it seriously, will she be the next to join the new communist Corbyn party? And of course, in the past few moments, we know she has now been suspended. Okay, so has she been suspended and become Union Jackass? Let's see. Here are your results. In third place, with 31% of the vote, Grant Shapps. The runner-up, with 32% of the vote, Diane Abbott. So her day just got a little bit better. And today's Union Jackass, the former Prime Minister responsible for this revolting cover-up, Rishi Sunak. Fishy Rishi, I used to call him on GB News. God, I was right. Today's Greatest Britain, nominated by Real Mick Cass, is Katie Hopkins for not giving up the fight for free speech and fighting against the Rugby Council. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.